Welcome to E-Pathashala. I am Dr. S G Kumar, ex-librarian and head of the Department of Library Science, RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur. The subject of my discussion is public libraries, and the module is on National Library and Information Policy. When we talk of a national information policy, information is regarded as vital for the development of any nation. It is regarded as a raw material like minerals, resources like human resources, etc. And it has been realized recently by all the governments that national policy on information is vital for the development of any nation. Many of the nations, both developed and developing, are started formulating national information policy which forms the guideline for the development of the nation as a whole, of different branches and different sections of the society. Information is vital for the development of national policy makers like government, business and industrial houses, academic institutions, and whatnot. Thus, information policy gives basic guidelines that are necessary for the development of information infrastructure in various disciplines and various departments of the government. As it has been realized that information is vital for the development of a nation, many of the nations started evolving the national information policy, and which will also help in planning, implementation, and evaluation of the various programs. The basic policy question is the policies can be formulated at different levels, at national level, at state level, regional and local level. Policy statement consists of various elements that help in smooth organization of information flow in various organizations and various institutions. National information policy has certain objectives to be achieved. Number one is to indicate the need for a national information policy and to elaborate the purpose as such of such a policy for both the government and the various organizations. Number three, to suggest as to how a policy statement can be formulated that will govern such a policy and the process of policy formulation. And number four, to provide guidelines for a national infrastructure in terms of information and to review the national policy initiatives that have already been initiated in India so far, and to give an idea about the National Knowledge Commission as per the recommendations of the Working Group on Libraries and Constitution of National Mission on Libraries. Policy statements provide the basis for smooth, ordinary and thoughtful change that can be brought out in the society. They further assist and enable long-range management planning. There can be policies to cover every decision and to meet every contingency. Programs and activities must operate within one framework and be directed towards a common set of objectives. The establishment of performance goals and the determination of priorities is contingent upon the clear understanding of the general objectives of the system. Consistency and efficiency of operations is vital for successful and smooth sailing of the national policy system. Clear policy statement reinforces and protects the information service in matters where its position is questioned or challenged. Coming to value of policies, these will help us to standardize the activities and facilitate decision making by the policy makers or the decision makers, minimize the confusion that may arise, and coordinate various units in the system or in the policy. Conserve the time of the training of library personnel. Policy questions for information organization are: what is the major role of information in the service, and what are the components of the information system already existing, and what are the new components that are to be incorporated in the process, what information services are already being provided, what new information services that can be developed in order to meet the information requirement of the society, what are the different categories of users, and what services are being provided to them, and what new services can be introduced in the process. The progress of any nation will depend upon the information that it has and that is going to develop. In fact, in earlier days, the society was divided basing on the economic development. These days, the societies are being divided on the basis of information they are possessing. They are described now as information rich and information poor nations. So the vital importance of information in the national development has been realized, and various steps are being taken by governments at various different nations in order to formulate their own information policies. Information is directly related to its use and application. Possessing information is one important thing, and secondly, how best we will be able to exploit the information that is available with us, and how best we can develop further so that the pace of development will grow from time to time. Generation of new information needs a lot of inputs, and these depend upon the gathering of the existing information, research into the newer and newer areas, and also processing and storage of information. The cost of information is an important factor that need to be considered. The government, when it is involved in developing information infrastructures, the cost is not a major factor for the governments in investment into the information generation, organization, dissemination, and processing of information. The cost of information in generation, research, gathering, processing, etc. is going to be very costly, and the cost of information depends upon we can sell the information to others and also recover a part of the cost of the investment that has already made in the generation of information. When we want to formulate a national information policy, certain guidelines are to be taken into consideration. A national information policy should take into comprehension some of these following points. Identification of the information needs of the society and socio-professional groups. establish priorities with regard to their needs, visualize a national information system with various subsystems and sectoral information systems, services to be offered and methods that are to be followed. Decide the measures needed to enable the national information system to perform its role and ensure compatibility among the already existing systems that are there in the nation. Decisions to have to be taken with regard to national information system and how it could be further developed. Development and improvement of primary publications and secondary publications are another important considerations that are to be taken into account. Primary publications are mostly with the various government and research organizations. Secondary publications are already available in the market, but whereas the primary publications are not that easily available to the people. So, storage and dissemination of primary publication will mainly depend upon the various national libraries, national information centers, documentation centers, and the government departments. Development and improvement of primary publication ensure generally the availability of information and the data. So, thus you see the information output of a country could be taken into consideration by looking into the primary publications and secondary publications that are available in the market. Strengthening the collections of various information agencies or organizations is vital for further development of the information. Policies regarding to access to foreign collections and documents and databases. Here mostly there are intergovernmental agreements where we will be able to have agreements with other nations and national information agencies whereby we can have exchange of information products over a period of time. Development of translation services, database networks, preservation, dissemination and conservation of documents are the other vital areas where the government or the national policy makers have to take into consideration. There are different agencies that have been developed in India also to take care of the establishment of national information networks, preservation and conservation of the documents, dissemination of information through primary and secondary sources, and also the networked information, and conservation of documents which are old and obsolete. Bibliographical control of documents is another important factor where we have to have a control over the entire literature that is generated in the country over a period of time. Bibliographical control helps us to know the literary output or the information output of the country. Coordination between various units and subsystems is very much essential so that there cannot be a duplication of effort in gathering, processing, presentation and dissemination of information. Establishment of standards for information processing and communication are essential. Various national agencies, especially the various bodies like NISCARE, ICSSR, etc., and also standard agencies like Bureau of Indian Standards, etc., are formulating the standards for maintenance of for organization of information at various levels. The next important aspect is manpower planning. Manpower planning is to be taken into consideration because trained manpower is essential for scientific organization of information systems. Financing information systems and principles and services. The government of India has to take into consideration the financing and supporting the information infrastructure development in various fields of activities. So is the case with other countries. Enacting appropriate legislation for regulation of information activities. For example, in the areas like copyright and other areas like bibliographical control, etc., are to be decided by the government concerned. Promotion of user education and services. Though the information is available in various products and services, there should be a policy to promote the spread of information to the concerned. So here comes the need for organizing training programs for users in the use of information and in processing and dissemination of information. Encouragement of education and research in library and information science is another important area, and UGC and other national agencies should come forward to identify certain important organizations in India where library and education science, library and information science is being taught. They can identify and establish certain projects and certain programs for training, not only training the people in the field of library and information science, but also certain research projects can be assigned so that newer and newer techniques of information handling could be developed. There is another important aspect, cooperation with other national and international agencies. As I already mentioned, intergovernmental agreements for exchange of information is essential for enriching the nation with all information that is already generated and the information that is already available in other nations, and they can be applied conveniently to the situation in the country. Public libraries come under the Department of Culture of Government of India. The Government of India had set up a Committee on National Policy for Library and Information System on 7th October 1985 under the chairmanship of Professor D.P. Chattopadhyaya, the then chairman of the Rajaram Mohan Rai Library Foundation. They submitted the report. The salient features of this report are: they have given importance on the establishment of public libraries at various levels as the chief sources of dissemination of information at various levels. So they suggested that the Government of India should establish public libraries at various levels: national level, state levels. The state government should come forward for establishing public libraries. The state government should have a network of public libraries at district, taluk and village level. The main thrust that they have given is that the national government, union government, should revise the Model Public Library Bill and circulate to the various state governments for adopting public library legislation. They have stressed the need and importance of public libraries as disseminators of information. And each village, they expect that a public library should be established and reading habits should be developed among the villagers. The village libraries where there is no public library, a school library can be made open to public, and the public can be make use of the library services that are available in the schools. In the same way, if there is a public library and there is no school or school library, then the public library should provide the information needs of the schools and the students that are there in the village. In a public library system, Raja Ram Mohan Rai Library Foundation should be made the apex body for looking after the development of public libraries. The state library system should have a network of public libraries with State Central Library as at the apex, and different districts should have district central libraries, and then they should have taluk libraries and village libraries. And there should be a continuous support, financial support to the various libraries through the government. The government either establish a lump sum of amount for the public library finances, or they may collect a cess on property tax and other taxes that are being collected by the governments. Local governments should levy a cess or a tax, and the tax should be utilized for the development of public libraries. The public libraries should have different sections for different users of the user groups. For example, the district central library should have a children's section, a women's section, and they should also support adult education and other programs so that those who are not able to read can become literates and come forward to the use of public libraries in the region. There are also continuing education programs and open university systems. The public libraries should support the open university systems also by making available the literature that is there in the libraries. Adult education programs have been the backbone of public library system in the earlier days, and the same should be followed even now. The district libraries, each district will have a district central library. In the same way, cities should have city central libraries which can cater to the special needs of the various people that are working in that are serving in the particular geographical area. State Central Library as an FX system should provide necessary technical assistance to the libraries at the district level and local level. They should also provide bibliographical support by classifying and cataloging the various documents and make them available. The cards, printed catalog cards, may be made available to the district and local libraries. In the same way, they should also maintain contact libraries for minorities. They should establish special libraries in areas where there are special type of public exists. For example, tribal libraries. In the tribal regions, they should have special libraries for tribals, backward classes, minority communities, so that their special needs could be catered by the public library. In the same way, public libraries at the state level should take into consideration of physically disadvantaged people, and especially, for example, the blind. There should be a braille system of books in the public libraries so that the blind people can take advantage of these services. In the same way, a public library should try to cater the needs of various categories of users, their information requirements, and necessary planning should be taken into consideration for establishment of various libraries, various sections in the libraries, and to attract various users, both literate, neo-literates, and illiterates, to come and take advantage of the library system in the country. The D.P. Chattopadhyay Committee has taken into consideration all these requirements of public libraries and made suitable recommendations to the Government of India. The Department of Culture, Government of India, appointed an Empower Committee in November 1986. Again under the chairmanship of Professor D.P. Chattopadhyay, to lay down the program of action for implementation of the recommendations made by National Policy on Library and Information Services. The Empowered Committee submitted its report in April 1988. Salient features of this Empowered Committee report are to declare Director National Library as the head of the Central Reference Library, initiating action for creation of a National Commission on Library and Documentation and Information within the government setup, establish, maintain and strengthen public libraries in the country and enable them work as one particular system, making rural library services available in each village under the minimum needs program of 2001 by the central and state governments. Every rural public library shall have a children's section. Community center libraries should have audiovisual material and equipment. District libraries should provide more facilities for handicapped and underprivileged classes. Public libraries should act as chief sustaining agencies for distance education. State central libraries should play an important role in networking, establishment of units of library procedures and standards within the state. RRLF may establish 100 model rural libraries in collaboration with various state governments. The central government may revise Model Public Library Bill. The central government, in collaboration with state governments, may establish at least one multilingual library in each state to cater the needs of the minorities. Every school and college must have a library and a qualified librarian. Association of Indian Universities may take up a project involving academic library norms and on a priority basis. The National Library, INSIDOC, DST and ICSSR may take suitable steps to create national databases. There should be a national library system starting with the National Library at the top and the village library at the bottom. There is a strong need for having a national R&D center in the field of library and information science, and a national commission on libraries and a national grid of public libraries should be developed with the help of Department of Culture. Then the Government of India has established a working group on the recommendations made by the Chattopadhyay Committee, so that they will be able to delineate the work that is to be undertaken by different governmental agencies. And the working group was chaired by Ms. Komal Anand, Joint Secretary to the Government of the Department of Culture, and the President ILA was a member of this particular group. The government initiatives that have been suggested by Atal Bihari Vajpayee when he was Prime Minister he has initiated certain steps towards establishment of a national information policy. These are education for developing a learning society, global networking, vibrant government industry academic interaction in policy making and implementation, leveraging of existing components in IT, telecom, biotechnology, drug design, financial services, and enterprise-wide management. The next one is economic and business strategies, alliances built on capabilities and opportunities. Some recent developments that have taken place in the recent past are National Knowledge Commission. The Knowledge Commission is an idea of Sam Pitroda, who has mooted for establishment of a National Advisory Committee. The Pitroda's draft for discussion presented to the Prime Minister in December 2004 does not, however, seem pathfinding. It rattles of India's knowledge heritage, the temple architecture, concept of zero, yoga and Ayurveda, while saying the knowledge paradigm of the future will require integration of access to the public, the benefits through the various organizations like universities, laboratories, industry, and governmental agencies. In this module of National Information Policy, we have discussed about the need for a national policy, the role that the information plays in the development of the nation, and the various national governments have now started formulating national information policies, as information is regarded as vital for the development of national like natural resources and human resource development, etc. While formulating national policy, I have mentioned to you the various objectives that are to be kept in mind and the role the national policy will play in the development of a particular nation. I have also discussed what problems that may arise in the lack of a national information policy, what should constitute a national information policy, and what steps various organizations, particularly the government, should take into consideration while formulating a national information policy. In the backdrop of these, I have also mentioned about the developments in India, particularly the Chattopadhyay committee that was appointed by Department of Culture in 1980s, whereby the committee has recommended establishment of a network of public libraries in India with the National Library at the apex and village library at the bottom, and what role the central government should take and what role the state governments have to take in implementing the national information policy. The state library should act as an apex body. There should be district central libraries and then village libraries, and these should be linked together in the form of a network. Each library should cater to different user groups. For example, the leisured one, and then the neo-literates, literates, as well as illiterates also. Adult education programs formed a basis for the development of illiterates to become neo-literates and make willing beneficiaries of the public libraries that are already existing in the country. So, D.P. Chattopadhyay committee has made certain recommendations, and the same has been reviewed, and a policy program has been developed. And the empowered committee also delineated the various steps to be taken for the implementation of the national policy on library and information services. Recently, the government has taken certain important decisions. Important among them are National Knowledge Commission, which Sam Pitroda was the chairman earlier, the founding chairman, and they have established a working group on libraries, and a national mission on libraries was also named. These steps are going to play an important role in the implementation of the national policy on library and information services. If you want any further information, you can consult the main text of my talk, and thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.